CI Games CEO Marek Tyminski declared that his company will not integrate DEI into its games. No, we will not. Obviously, he will not be integrating it into his company either. If you're unfamiliar with CI Games, they are the publisher for Lords of the Fallen. They're also known for the Sniper Ghost Warrior franchise. Wrote this up over at fandompulse.com. You can find the link in the description below. I encourage you to head on over, become a paid subscriber. It costs less than a Starbucks coffee, just $5 a month, and you get all kinds of articles here covering video games, covering movies, covering television, covering comics, covering tabletop gaming, covering novels and books. We are the place to go to when it comes to pop culture news. The $5 a month is well worth the price of admission, and we are fully reader funded. That is our only revenue source for this website. So let's get into this right here. During an investor chat published by Strefa Inwestero, which is, I assume, is a Polish investment website, the company's global marketing director, Ryan Hill, responded to this question: what is your stance on DEI in gaming? He said, we remain committed to producing player-first video games that prioritize an excellent user experience with compelling themes and characters created specifically for core and adjacent audiences. No modern audiences here, core and adjacent audiences. No modern audiences, not even using the woke DEI language when answering this question. Excellent. Like to see that. While some video games have recently taken the opportunity to embed social or political agendas within their experiences, it is clear that many players do not appreciate this. That's an understatement. And as a result, we have seen a number of high-profile releases underperforming commercially during the last year alone. Again, I think that's an understatement as well. Look at Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. Look at Dragon Age: The Veilguard. Look at Star Wars Outlaws. Concord, obviously, I think is the biggest one. Game was shut down 2 weeks after release, and then they shut the studio down about a month and a half later. Total disaster. You can even look at smaller games like Unknown 9 Awakening. You can look at Tales of Kenzera Zao. Surgent Studios, they had to shut down their video game production after that game's failure. The list goes on and on and on. Anyways, Brian Hill goes on and says, our games will always be developed to maximize player enjoyment and commercial success. And as such, we will not be integrating any social or political agencies into these experiences going forward, having observed the high risk this can present. So love to see this right there. Obviously, noting that if you push this stuff, it is going to be commercially awful. You're not going to succeed, and the evidence is apparent. Even they're admitting that they see this stuff, right? So that's actually good news that they're seeing what we're seeing, that this stuff does not work. It leads to commercial failure. But I also want to point out here that he says they want to maximize player enjoyment. And I think that's really interesting too, because as Elon Musk likes to say, DEI kills art, and it kills art because it ruins immersion. And J.R.R. Tolkien talked about this in his essay on fairy stories. I bring this up every once in a while, but I think this is a good point to bring it up again. And he says this: children are capable, of course, of literary belief. When the story maker's art is good enough to produce it, that state of mind has been called willing suspension of disbelief. But this does not seem to me a good description of what happens. What really happens is that the story maker proves a successful sub-creator. He makes a secondary world which your mind can enter. Inside it, what he relates is true. It accords with the laws of that world. You therefore believe it while you are, as it were, inside. The moment disbelief arises, the spell is broken. The magic, or rather art, has failed. You are then out in the primary world again, looking at the little abortive secondary world from outside. And that is what the DEI and woke agenda does every single time. It brings about disbelief. It drops you out of the secondary world, puts you back in the primary world, and you are now only able to see that secondary world for the abortive disaster that it is. Because the woke DEI agenda always breaks immersion. It breaks immersion, whether it's in a novel, whether it's in a video game, whether it's in tabletop gaming, whether it's in a movie, whether it's in a television show. It breaks immersion. That's what it does. That's why DEI kills art, because it breaks immersion. It kicks you out of the secondary world. You no longer can, the laws of that world are broken. They're no longer true. You have disbelief now. And Tolkien goes on and says this, though. He says, if you are obliged by kindliness or circumstance to stay, then disbelief must be suspended or stifled. Otherwise, listening and looking would become intolerable. I think we see this. Let's just look at the Marvel Cinematic Universe, look at Star Wars, look at how many people are abandoning this. I just did an article about Skeleton Crew. It is the worst viewed live-action Disney Plus Star Wars show. And they have more subscribers than ever, right? And it's the least on Disney Plus, and it's the least viewed show. It's because more and more people are seeing Star Wars as they have this disbelief now because of this woke DEI agenda that they've pushed. So people it's intolerable. They can't watch it anymore. They can't even look at it because it disgusts them. But this suspension of disbelief is a substitute for the genuine thing, a subterfuge we use when condescending to games or make-believe, or when trying more or less willingly to find what virtue we can in the work of an art that has for us failed. And I think you see this. I mean, if you watch Star Wars Theory, you can see he's absolutely trying to find any kind of virtue in a lot of these things that they are making, even though I think Star Wars has overall been a failure for him under Disney's leadership. I think you can see this with a lot of these bigger YouTubers like that. And I think the more honest ones are like, they are very well aware that it's intolerable. They can't watch it anymore, or they can't play it anymore. It's just over. And Tolkien was absolutely right with this. And this is why DEI kills art. And this is why I think they're saying right here, they want to maximize player enjoyment. And you can't maximize player enjoyment when you are pushing the DEI woke agenda, because what does it do? It kills art, right? Anyways, Marek Tymiński doubled down on this. He responded to an excerpt of WCCF Tech's coverage of the investor chat that was shared by Pirate Nation over on X. And he said, exactly, no, we will not integrate DEI elements in our games. So really, really good to see this right here. But it's not just their games. It looks like it's also going to be their company at large. I thought this was really interesting as well during this investor chat. Obviously, we talk about hiring practices, and a lot of the times the reason why you see the DEI and woke agenda is because they've hired DEI and woke people. I mean, look at Avowed, Matt Hansen, their art director, a perfect example of that. And what does Marek here say? He's asked, how much higher are the employee costs compared to having all staff employed in Poland? He says, there is no cost advantage to hiring Poland for us when considering senior employees, and we always go for the best in class. Every position we are covering with the best available candidate. Sometimes it means we don't hire someone really good simply because we are taking on board an even better candidate. You can hire for a slightly less if you go for freelance contract or business to business, but once you hire based on regular employment contracts, as we do, there are no clear benefits having that in Poland. We don't hire juniors as well. So very clear that they will not be embracing any kind of DEI hiring practices that we see throughout the video game industry, whether that be at Ubisoft, whether that be at Sony, whether that be at Microsoft and all of its subsidiaries. So really good to hear this as well. Not putting it in their games, and obviously not doing it when it comes to hiring. They are hiring based on who is the best available candidate, not based on your skin color, not based on your sex, not based on your immoral sexuality. Then we got this also here from Senior Vice President of Development, Tom O'Connor. He fielded a question that says this: what does the new game production strategy look like in practice? How is it supposed to be better? And how will it benefit the company? And he says, we have a new player-first development approach. Love that. Love to see that player-first word there. And I think that this kind of goes along with everything else we've seen in this investment chat, which ensures that our products meet the expectations of our target audiences and can be tested, iterated, and improved many times during development to ensure much higher quality than before. Additionally, since joining CI Games, we have set up a centralized development support office which oversees all product, working closely with our development teams, but ensuring that our products are highly commercial and high-quality releases. We have an extensive internal review process for our titles, constantly evaluating where we are and how we can improve. And it looks like this has indeed kind of taken effect. You can see the Steam reviews here. They were mixed when this game released back in October 13, 2023, so almost over a year ago. And mixed right there, 23,175 mixed, but obviously they've obviously made changes. They've added patches, etc. They've improved upon the game, and now it's mostly positive from the recent reviews, 420. So that is a really, really good sign. This looks like a company that does indeed want to please gamers, wants to make games that gamers want to play, and they want to sell games to gamers. And they're working on doing that. So this is a really, really good sign. I love to see all of this stuff. I hope we see more companies start to do this. We are seeing some movement on this. Interestingly enough, it is from companies based in Poland. Obviously, we saw Warhorse Studios kind of say that a lot of these AAA companies are afraid of people like Asmongold of Critical Drinko criticizing the DEI woke agenda that's being injected into these video games and movies, and and he's like, we're not doing that. So that's really good. Obviously, there's some people thinking some people being extremely cynical, thinking that's a marketing ploy, and maybe it is. But at the same time, it's good marketing, especially if the game backs it up. So we will obviously see in that case, and then obviously we will see in the case of CI Games and their future products as well. But just because we're seeing this small movement doesn't mean there isn't a lot of work to do. Robbie Starbuck just posted this over on X yesterday evening about all of the companies that have removed DEI from their business practices. The only tech or video game company is Meta or Facebook, and they just did that yesterday. They made those announcements. All the other companies are not in video games or tech. You can see it's McDonald's, Walmart, Boeing, Molson Coors, Lowe's, Ford, Jack Daniels, Harley Davidson, John Deere, Tractor Supply, Toyota, Nissan, Caterpillar, Stanley, Black & Decker, DeWalt, Indian Motorcycle, Craftsman, and Polaris. So there's obviously still a lot of work to be done. You've got the major companies like Sony, Microsoft, all of their subsidiaries, Bethesda, Activision, Blizzard, even the smaller studios when you look at Compulsion Games, etc. Even the Japanese company or Ubisoft, obviously, as well. And you even can look at the Japanese studios, Square Enix, Capcom. They have all embraced some of this stuff to some extent. I think even the upcoming Monster Hunter Wilds has this stupid Type A, Type B body type stuff selector. So they all still have a lot of this stuff. It's all on their corporate websites. It's all public. So we still have a lot of work to do to eradicate this from the video game industry. But we are seeing some movement here from some of these smaller companies, and I think they are going to be rewarded for this. And I think you're going to continue to see a lot of these major companies, BioWare, EA, etc., Ubisoft, face the consequences for their embrace of this evil ideology as gamers recognize right and wrong and are saying no to what is wrong and evil. But let me know what you guys make of what Marek here had to say, Marek Tymiński had to say here, and what Ryan Hill had to say, and how CIA Games is not going to be incorporating DEI into their games. Let me know in the comments below. Remember to always be charitable, especially to each other, and to always, always speak the truth.